Welcome to your election headquarters. We are live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144, and on your digital TV. Now, former Asokwa NPP constituency youth organizer has officially joined the list of members who have filed their nominations to contest as independent parliamentary candidates in this year's elections. Eric Osei has defied calls by the Regional Council of Elders of the party to rescind his decision. Now, he says his decision is fueled by constituents. Mr. Osei, who says his filing fee was paid by residents of Asokwa, believes his candidature will rather benefit the NPP because Asokwa is fed up with the current MP, Patricia Appiagyei. Prince Appiah has more.
The parliamentary contest in the Asokwa constituency is getting heated as incumbent member of parliament faces a fierce contest by her own youth organizer. Come on! Come on! Despite efforts by NPP Council of Elders to get Eric Osei back down, he has proceeded to file his nomination. It comes on the wheels of an admonition by President Akufo-Addo last week for voters to reject members who have gone solo.
The people of Asokwa need change.
Eric Osei, however, says going independent will inure to the president's fortunes and that of the NPP.
My contesting Asokwa seat will help the president himself, because if the constituent has to look at the work of the MP to vote for the president, I can tell the president will not even get 10% of the votes. Yes, because the man is not performing at all. So I've come, I'm the immediate past organizer for the party. Yeah. I'm campaigning for Nanado, as the woman also doing. So definitely the presidential was going to maximize. That's why I said going to help the party. Because if I had not contest this seat, people will not even come out to vote.
He accuses the incumbent MP of incompetence and poor performance. He describes the president's call on voters to reject independent candidates as unfortunate, but says he will align with the NPP if he gets to parliament.
I've gone to the masses and looking at, the response that I've received, I'm very optimistic. I'm very confident I can get 75% of the votes. In parliament, we have the minority and majority side. Definitely, when I get the opportunity, I will align myself to that of the NPP. So they are saying that the party will not take you back. But I know, definitely, when I win, they will call me back to the party.
Some constituents who accompanied him to the EC's office spoke to Love News.
In the Bible, the second view, I told you to drivers, a young former, and so for many Yajiska, and the boy say, boy, and a young man on a boilik. I don't have for sending me pie day, and one more to me a boasca mine. Who said, was able to a boasca mine? It didn't me do a say.
Meanwhile, the MP, Patricia Appiagyei, who filed his nominations on Wednesday, is promising to continue development in a constituency when re-elected.
That I'm prepared for the battle because I know my party has performed creditably. I've also performed creditably, and I believe the people of Asokwa are going to give me their optimum support. The one that my president called boom, boom, boom. Votes. In my third term bid, more development, and I'm also looking at ensuring that the education sector is also well managed.
Prince Appiah reporting.
So this youth organizer is not the only one going independent. Member of Parliament for Fomena in the Ashanti region, Andrew Amankwa-Esiama, has also filed his nomination to contest or to seek re-election on the ticket of an independent candidate. I'm joined by Dr. ALIDU SEIDU. He's a political scientist to have a conversation about this. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. The president has asked voters to reject people in his party who want to be MPs going on independent tickets. As a political scientist, what's your reaction to that call?
Okay, thank you so much. I think the people are the ultimate deciders of who should lead them in parliament. They have the ultimate right to decide. And the people usually will look at your ability to address their needs and then their challenges as a member of parliament. But being a sitting president and a party in government, some people will take the president's statement seriously and may not vote for independent candidates. But others will also will disregard the president's directive and go ahead to vote for an independent candidate. What we need to understand is the reason why people will want to go independent, especially in the MPP. I think this particular year, the MPP decided to protect over 60 or close to 65 candidates to go independent. A lot of people who had aspirations to also contest and represent their people in those particular constituencies were democratically denied that particular right. In some other instances, they believe the processes were held, but they believe it was not democratically done. Some candidates were disqualified without any genuine reason. There were an open bias against specific candidates that wanted to contest, and they actually lost their primaries. And the internal conflict resolution mechanism that was supposed to address these grievances, people believe was not fair and just enough. It actually supported people who had the support of the party hierarchy, and those who didn't have the support of the party hierarchy were not given a fair hearing. So in the throes of all this, people decide that I have the capacity and the people are voting for me. I am going to contest as an independent candidate. Moving forward, Bernice, what is the implication? Compared to the presidential election, we have a threshold, 50+1. The parliamentary election is first past the post. You can be an MP with just 2 votes or a vote difference. So it is very critical, especially when you have somebody from your party going independent. There will still be people who support him. People like that have followers. What they may end up doing, even if they will not win the elections for the seat for the party, is that they will divide the vote that the party will have received in a specific constituency. So when you have a strong challenger, maybe from the NDC or any other political party, they are able to win the elections with just maybe smaller number of votes. And if you also look at what happened in 2016, most of these MPs won the seats with just narrow votes. So if they won maybe with less than 1,000 or 2,000 vote margin, then you have an independent candidate coming from their rank. It means that they are going to divide the vote, and the closest opposition party to the MPP is likely going to win that seat. So I believe rather than just issuing a statement that the people should disregard these particular candidates, I think the party can still make a lot of amends and see how they can close their rank and compensate these people in a way so that they can all rally behind one candidate. But the call alone wouldn't be enough.
Doc, so how do they handle the issue? I was just coming to that because the president has also said that it's a sign of disrespect to him as leader of the party going into the elections that people will decide to contest as independent candidates. We've also had situations like the Asokwa where the Council of Elders actually tried to intervene and it didn't work. So how should the party go about this, seeing that it's likely to have an impact on them in terms of representation in Parliament?
So I think the party should listen to them. In most of these cases, when this has happened in Ghanaian politics, the party always issue a directive and say people who are contesting for independent candidates step down, or people who are contesting for as independent candidates are no longer part of the party. They have been sacked from the party, or people should not vote for them. I think people in a democracy have the right to express their view, contrary to what power holders or duty bearers in the party want them to do. And the good thing is that voting is a secret ballot. You wouldn't follow.
We seem to have, great,
who they are going to vote for at the end of the day. What I do believe is that it is still not too late for the party to sit them down. They set up a dispute resolution committee. They can meet these people, listen to them, and find a way to compensate them moving forward. Maybe assure them with a position or do something that will make them step down. But if they do not step down and they are allowed to contest just because the president said they shouldn't contest, then most of the people who like them will vote for them. And that would be the vote that will have added to the NDC, the MPP's main candidate to have made him an MP. And that has the tendency, especially in the keenly contested constituencies, to throw the victory on the side of either the NDC or any other political party, and then the MPP is going to lose. And you cannot govern successfully in this country without having a parliamentary majority. It will be very difficult.
So, Doc, what does this situation tell about the party's handling of internal grievances? Like you mentioned earlier, in some of the constituencies, the persons who are going independent were prevented from filing their nominations. They had concerns about the manner in which that was done, and they feel that that was not dealt with to their satisfaction. What does this say about how the NPP handles internal matters and wranglings?
So internal party democracy is one of the biggest steps to achieving national democratic consolidation. So we need to pay so much attention to internal party democracy. What happens is that, you see, it is more about the processes, the processes of filing, the processes of voting, the processes of disqualifying or not disqualifying, or acclaiming or disqualifying. If you disqualify somebody, on what grounds are you disqualifying those candidates? In most cases, some of them were disqualified without giving them any sincere, convincing, genuine reason why they were disqualified. In other instances, the regional executives and some national executives were openly biased against some candidates and were seriously and openly rooting for other candidates. If you begin to do this, then I see that the processes are not fair. And once I believe that I have a lot of following at the constituency, and I'm going to present the constituency, people can go to parliament without contesting on the ticket of a party. The constitution allows that. So they will come out. What might happen is that they are either going to win the seat and decide who they align themselves with when they go to parliament, or they will lose the seat and pull the incumbent candidate down because they will end up splitting the vote. And that will not augur well for parliamentary majority of the party should they win in this year's election.
Finally,
once you win and the NDC controls parliament or the vice versa, it is going to be a very difficult position for a government in such a situation.
Finally, Doc, shouldn't this be a good sign in terms of looking at our capacity to handle this as a democracy? Shouldn't it be a good sign that people can leave a party, contest as independent candidates, and actually come back? Shouldn't we be playing this in the positive sense instead of the negative?
It is one of the character of political parties. Membership to political parties are not compulsory. People may decide to be a member of a political party at a specific point in time and may decide to leave a political party at any point in time. So one of the character of political parties, unlike maybe a mafia group or any other cult or cultist group, is the fact that you can leave and come in as and when you please, as long as the party is willing to accept you. So when we begin to read this and teach this in universities, and then they begin to manifest practically, then there are good signs that our democracy is maturing. People can actually not defy, but can do what they want to do as an independent people within or being a member or not a member of a political party. So in that light, it is good. We are actually implementing what the theory says about being a member of a political party. It's just that in most cases, people are victimized when they exercise their individual right to belong or not belong to a political party. But once we begin to put aside the victimization, I think things will go in the way that we want our democracy to go. And people will desire to exercise their right to join or leave a political party without fear or favor of intimidation.
I appreciate your time this morning. Dr. ALIDU SEIDU is a political scientist, and we've been talking about some members of the NPP defying calls for them not to contest as independent parliamentary candidates. And we know that in the Ashanti region, which is a stronghold of the NPP, we have at least 9 people in that party who are contesting as independent candidates. Now, chiefs participating in active politics, this conversation seems far from end. This week, the Otumfuo Osei Tutu II has been admonishing chiefs to adhere to the law and stay away from active partisan politics. Not many, however, agree with him on that stance. Diochihene Osajefo Amotiaforiping is on record to have been contesting the section of that law that bars chiefs from engaging in active politics. Now, here's what he said in an interview he granted my colleague Winston Amoa during the 2016 election season on TV3.
Fair. I have a problem with that.
Tell us.
Because I didn't get this by government. Government is not paying me. This is a family business. The people of Achim elected to do this. I'm not drawing any insurance or health care from central government. And if the job is in Accra and I want to apply, why should I give up my family stool? Unfair. Secondly, the active policy they're talking about, Winston, if a party is campaigning and in their manifesto, they write, we are going to engage and encourage gay marriages. I sit here and a party has that in the manifesto. Or better yet, a party says that we will continue to give small-scale miners license to mine. You want to tell me because the Constitution says that I cannot engage in active policy, I would tell my fellows, my people, don't vote for this party. Because it's a disaster to have gay marriages. But in their constitution, they wanted to shut up, not say anything publicly. I can't call people privately and tell them that this is what they're going to do, so vote against them. I need to hold a debate. It depends. I mean, I don't understand. The ones about the civil servants, I do understand. They draw their paycheck from central government. So you cannot hold central government pay a job and take a pay and still try to apply for another job. We are not there. I buy my own petrol. I don't ask government to give me anything. So if I decide, or any of my chiefs decide that, well, I think I'll be better serve my people if I become an MP. You are saying he can't, but he has to give up what his family's property. I think that's unfair, but it's in the Constitution. Until we change that, we'll see.
Now, this was sometime in the build-up to the 2016 election. Winston Amma, my colleague here, was then at TV3. Quite recently, we've had the Ochihene endorsing a second-term bid of President Akufo-Addo. So we ask, is it time to revise our law? In its current form, is it necessary at all? What does the country stand to lose or gain if the law on chiefs engage in an active partisan politics is revised? Joining me now is lawyer OPPONG for some legal thoughts on the matter. Thank you so much for your time here this morning, and it's great to have you share your thoughts with us. We've had the Osajafo, the Ochihene, speaking on this matter, though 3 years ago. I think it's safe to say that he still stands with that notion he shared, clearly because of what we heard him say about the president when he paid a visit to him recently. Should we revise our laws? Is it antique?
Well, thank you very much. In the first place, the question, well, maybe the first question is whether or not there's anything wrong with the law. And if so, then what is the remedy for it? And if you may permit me, the provisions of the law that directly come into play here is Article 276 of the Constitution, and if you read clauses 1 and 2, the one says, if you have time.
Sure, please go ahead.
The chief shall not take part in active party politics. And any chief wishing to do so and seeking election to Parliament shall abdicate his stool or skin. And the 2 says, that's the 276(2). Notwithstanding clause 1 of this article, which I just read, and paragraph C of clause 3 of Article 94, that one also says that chiefs are disqualified from contesting as members of Parliament, and by extension, President. Of this, a chief may be appointed to any public office for which he is otherwise qualified. So if we highlight what I consider to be the key words, which I think are active party politics, then in my view, merely endorsing a person based on his good work and recommending him to be voted for in an election or based on his track record, I do not think it meets the threshold or the mark set by the eminent drafters of the Constitution. They knew of these things and therefore were careful not to say that chiefs should not just take part in politics. they said active party politics. We all know what active party politics means here.
Let me just come in here. So talking about the bit of endorsement and looking at what we've seen on the campaign trail and for both the president, President Akufo-Addo, and the largest opposition's running mate, John Dramani Mahama, we've had chiefs endorse sometimes their policies, and we've had chiefs ask subtly, sometimes not bluntly, their subjects to vote for a certain candidate. Doesn't that amount to campaigning? And is campaigning not active politics?
Well, I think it's debatable, but my understanding is that if a particular chief, as they do, tells his subjects to look at the work a particular person have done. We all, politics is about engagement in policies, application of policies, and getting more for your people in accordance with law. If they believe that if they look at the work done by various participants or various candidates and ask them to choose the one whose works have largely benefited them, I don't see that to be active party politics.
So just to be clear,
in other words, just a second. What rather the moral aspect is that if you are a chief and you openly ask your subjects to vote for a particular person in clear terms, you are inviting those who do not want to or support that particular party to be disrespectful to you, and that may be the danger in terms of the moral situation. But as far as I'm concerned, merely asking your people to look at the work of all parties and not isolating one or all candidates, not isolating one, and vote according to the work they have done and what they expect them to do, I'm not sure that meets the mark set by the Constitution. Okay,
so just to be clear, you've admitted that this law may be ambiguous, right, in terms of in response to my question about whether campaigning amounts to active politics. You said that's debatable. So,
yes.
So just to be clear, are you saying that the law in its form is fine, or we should expand it to cover issues like the gray lines that are not very defined, like campaigning, etc.?
Well, I'm saying that if a chief, for example, wears a particular political party's colors, or a particular independent candidate color, and stands on a platform and asks people to vote for a particular chief, or as it used to be under the 79 Constitution, where chiefs even contested to go to Parliament, that clearly violates the law. But when it comes to a chief asking their people, as they do, to consider the work done by a particular candidate and vote according to what they see or what they have observed in terms of development and what they expect, I do not think that, in my understanding, it meets the mark. And therefore, the law clearly has no problem, except that it depends on how one looks at it and how one leverages in terms of the law.
Let me move away from strict law and just take your thoughts on this. In our country, we know that chiefs are sometimes mediators in political impasse. So you spoke about the moral argument earlier. Let's bring the moral argument here too. How does a chief mediate in circumstances like that when you have that chief coming out to endorse a particular political party?
Yeah, so I'm happy we are moving from the strict law. But so that it's the same thing that I said. So even beyond mediating between political parties, the people in his community may not belong to one political party. I don't think any exists in this country. So if there's a problem between the two, and the chief being expected to be an independent arbiter may have associated himself clearly with one political party or one independent candidate, there may be a problem. Of course, mediating between or resolving dispute between political parties, strictly speaking, is not one of the functions of a chief. But they have played this role over the years And that is why if a chief would even encourage his people to consider a particular person, candidate, as independent person or not, they should choose their words carefully. Not to ask them to choose a particular person, but to consider the words and vote according to their conscience, the development they see. Of course, the people too are independent-minded and they are discerning. So the fact that a chief would even ask you or encourage you to vote for a particular candidate does not mean that you must of necessity comply with it. After all, you go to the box alone and you vote in the secret.
I appreciate your time, Lawyer Yao Oppong, sharing his thoughts with us on this subject that appears will not end soon, Chief's involvement in partisan politics. Now, Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jen Mensah, has expressed her disappointment over John Mahama's failure to show up at the EC headquarters to file his nomination form, saying she was looking forward to hearing from him firsthand some of the concerns he has raised about the electoral process in the media. Former President Mahama was due to file his nomination on Wednesday, but the General Secretary of the party did that on his behalf.
As a commission, we would have wished that the flag bearer of the NDC, former President John Dramani Mahama, and or his vice presidential candidate, Professor J. Nano Oppong, would have been here personally to present their nomination forms, as it would have allowed us an opportunity to engage, particularly with the former president, on some of his concerns which we have noted in the media. However, we welcome you both warmly to the commission this afternoon.
The NDC's General Secretary Johnson SEIDU Nketia is blaming the delay in filing on hurdles imposed by the EC. He claims voter IDs of some of their supporters or persons who endorsed the forms were replaced last minute.
We will be filing our nominations here at exactly 11 o'clock today. We have had to come this late because of some of the challenges which the Electoral Commission has imposed on us. And you remember when the Electoral Commission decided to compile a new voters register, we did indicate to them that the time was too short for a very comprehensive job to be done in the compilation of a register that would be credible for us to go into elections with. They disagreed and persisted in going ahead. Committees upon committees of evident persons were put together. We indicated to them that according to their own timetable, we will run these elections into an absent situation where the time the register will be ready, the period of filing of nominations would have expired.
While Deputy Chairman of the EC in charge of operations, Samuel Tete, says the NDC is not being truthful. He says the corrections and replacement of voter ID cards were done some 10 days ago.
The is claiming they found on the nomination forms. We corrected all these errors. And I can't remember, the chair actually asked me is to call the parties, that is those who, 10 days ago, those who collected the passcode to get access to our website to download the forms. And I called them and then informed them. So errors were collected, even some of the letter that we even put on the website. I even WhatsApp the letter to MPP, NPC, and all those that I have their numbers on my phone. So the errors were corrected, and we informed the political parties 2 weeks ago. So if for one or two reasons, some of them chose to stick to the ones that they have downloaded and did not get back to the website and then make the corrections, then it's their own problem.
Let's stay a while on election-related news. The NPP's Dr. Kwesi Rashid Etiafo will on December 7 be seeking to recapture the Ejumako Enyan Esiam seat the party has failed to win since 2008. He argues the NDC MP Dr. Kasiel Etoforsen has failed to ensure development in the area. But Dr. Forsen disagrees, insisting he will be retained. The two will be live on Joy FM at 8 p.m. on the Battleground with MFA Apau. Here's a snippet of what to expect.
That in-house bureaucracy, that in-house problem that we have, that has caused us our seats, it seems to have been patched, it seems to have been solved. We can only lose the seat when we are fighting. This year we can assure you that there's nothing like that.
Dr. Rashid Etiafo, a man in his early 30s, is confident he's the appointed man to unseat Dr. Etoforsen, incumbent MP for the Ejumako Enyan Esiam constituency and former Deputy Finance Minister.
I have asked this question wherever I go. I cannot talk about 2008 to 2012 to 2016. I can say from 2016 to 2020, this 4 years. Put this question to him. What has he done directly in the constituency? But I can put an authority that everything he's done is ordinary.
But are these mere words or they are words backed by deeds on the ground?
Let no one brag to you. Let no one create impression outside the constituency that is heavily contested. I do not see that. And I can assure you, by the end of December 7th, 2020, Etoforsen and the NDC will hold the Ejumako Enyan Esiam. It is certainly the case.
Here comes Dr. Etoforsen. Kasiel Etoforsen says, in terms of weight, Dr. Rashid Etiafo, his contender, is the lightest of all the persons from the NPP that have contested him in that constituency.
Among the candidates that have contested in the last 3 elections, I've more or less contested 3 people. Yes, one died, so about 4 people that have come out to contest me. But among all of them, he is the lightest of all the weight I've contested with. The lightest of all the weight. And you'll see his smoothness level pretty soon. The bragging must stop.
You don't want to miss tonight's edition of the Battleground with MFA Apau. It's at 8 p.m. on Joy FM. You can also catch it live on our Facebook page, Joy 99.7 FM. Now, we bring you a round of topical election news in the last 24 hours. Away from election-related news, the Ashanti Regional Minister has hinted of possible penetration of Volta Togoland secessionists into the Ashanti region. Simon Osei-Mensah says measures are already in place to curb possible insurgents. He will not give further details, but told the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs, led by the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, that security agencies are firmly on the ground.
Mintimi musaminka se tuantiku anatiatifu kwa omowo framantemu omsi
Since there are a lot of people of Voltarian descent in Ashanti region, we have been on the lookout for possible secessionists. We will call on all, including you, the traditional leaders, to help us with information.
Na we de mesre na nanom sremo a se bia obi yimasutri ana mo amotise enipaku bi hye bia.
If you see any group of people in your area being given military training or anything of that sort, please alert us. We have information that some of them are in the region and we are making efforts to arrest them. This is one of the reasons security in the region has been heightened.
Entiano Saniama Titrimian saying, Ama Bambono, or say a muscle, the cost we send your bear, Ubian, Emma, or Unity, Emma Truyan, Evo Mountain.
Now, a quick update for you. 59 suspects, including 2 females, have been remanded by court since the secessionist attack on Friday, 25th September 2020. In a related development, police on 5th October 2020 arrested one Besa Beho Israel, who was already on the wanted list of the police for attacking the Aveime police station. He was arrested at Adasika near Mafi, Kumasi in the Volta region. The suspect led police to a bush where he dug out firearms and ammunition he had buried and handed same to the police. These included police-owned firearms and ammunition. Now, this latest update is from the Ghana Police Service. You're watching News Desk with me, Bernice Abu Bedulansa, and all is set for the grand finale of the 2020 National Science and Maths Quiz. Opokuwari School at Isado College and Presec Legon are in battle today. Some Ghanaians say this afternoon's contest is not just a competition between 3 boys' schools, but a battle for superiority between 3 regions and churches. Now let's bring you some updates on the history behind these schools and how they got to the grand finale of the 2020 NSMQ. That contest is live here on the JoyNews channel at 2 p.m. We begin our build-up at 1 p.m. You don't want to miss this. This is going to be really exciting. And the National Science and Maths Quiz is produced by Prime Time Limited and sponsored by the Ghana Education Service with partnership from APSA. Our live broadcast is brought to you by DBS Industries Limited, Bright Senior High School, Kukrentumi, Adonko Next Level Energy Drink, and Adonko Hand Sanitizer. Coming up shortly in business, though, we'll tell you why credit reference bureaus will be profiling mobile money lenders.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Credit reference bureaus are working to soon provide the profiles of mobile money lenders in the country. This will ensure that persons with good credit history can secure loans through the platform on time. They are also working to provide credit scores of borrowers. The move is expected to help improve credit appraisal and check the current high loan default rate. George Ahiafo is Chief Executive of credit reference company XDS Data.
They are submitting data, but they are yet to use this thing to the fullest. You know, they are not using it for all the reasons they should be using it. So there's still some gap there. And, you know, we needed to be using it for acquiring customers like a KYC, because we have all that information on the database. They needed to do some analysis with the information on the individual. It's not a blacklisting database. You see the person's performance, and then you use it based on your risk appetite. You use it to structure something for the person, and also that the people, the consumers, they need to understand this. That when you're going to the bank to borrow money, you're not begging the bank. You understand? So you need to know your profile so that when you go there and you think that the rate is too high for you, you can go to the next person.
Now, the National Service Secretariat Farming Project in Ashanti region is looking forward to a bumper harvest this minor season after harvesting 100 acres of maize in the major season this year. The farming project located at Ejura in the Ashanti region is part of government's flagship policy, Planting for Food and Jobs, aimed at supporting the school feeding program. Now, as part of measures to ensure fruitful harvest, the National Service Scheme has presented a drone to its branch in the region to ensure that cause. Solomon Ofori has more in this report.
The drone, according to the executive director of the NSS, is going to support the farmers in controlling the weeds in the 100-acre farm. Mustafa Yusuf said this when presenting the drone to the secretariat at Ejura.
National Service, as last year I came here, I said we'll be introducing technology. And today we are even here to apply, and you can take pictures of the drone. The drone is going to be used to help improve the weed control. The Deputy Minister of Agri, who is an expert in this field, just told me that we have problem with the weed control. And I said, oh, then it is timely that we are here with the drone.
Mr. Yusuf says the scheme is supporting national service personnel who will venture into farming under the entrepreneurship and innovation model. At least 20 service persons have been given 20,000 Ghana cedis each to start their own farming project this year.
We are currently in collaboration with Maslock, and Maslock is supporting 20 national service personnel with funding. The initial funding, each farmer is getting 20,000 Ghana cedis. The checks has been signed, and this is going to support them to start their farm. And we, as you are aware, we also do animal farming. We do poultry. So most of them are going to go into poultry, and others also go into crop. So the crop farmers will crop, harvest, and give it to the poultry farmer, the animal farmers, to also use it, process it. We have people who also be doing processing. The process is sell it to the animal farmers so that they can use it to feed their birds.
In a related development, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has reiterated the need for more educated persons and professionals be encouraged to venture farming. Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture in charge of animal crops says government will continue to create the enabling environment to advance the move. Dr. Sagri Bambangi, however, tells Love Business young graduate involvement in farming is a great initiative which will lift the face of farming in the country.
For a scheme like this to be involved in farming sends a very strong signal to the youth that we are sending a message to them that farming, after all, is not bad and it's not for only those who are unlettered, that those who have gone to school, because when you go to school and complete university, that is the first place that you get a job to serve your nation. And if such an institution is engaged in agriculture, then it sends a very strong signal to our young graduates that agriculture is part and parcel of us, and therefore we should embrace it.
Reporting for Joy News, Obi Deshie Ofori Amanfo.
News continues after the break.
It's time for sports, and guess who I have today? Gary L. Smith.
Hello.
Hello, it's good to have you here.
Yes,
we'll talk about Presec shortly. But let's do the sports news, because Thomas Partey is still trending, and I know a lot of Arsenal fans are excited about his move to the club, but there are also a lot of Ghanaians who are hopeful that this will bring some good, energy to the team and give us some spotlight on the international scene.
It definitely is already giving us the spotlight, because throughout, every transfer window has a marquee, or what they call the face of the transfer window. And in this transfer window is Thomas Partey. So it's quite, a proud thing for us. that worldwide, arguably the most talked about transfer is Thomas Partey himself. So if you look at the trends right across the world, everybody is talking about how he will fit into the team. The talk has also been about how his former club Atletico Madrid are angry with him because He didn't leave. Yeah, he didn't tell them like he was going properly.
Oh wow.
Yes.
But Gary, quickly, let's talk about whether this kind of attention on Thomas' party will not affect him. You know, sometimes
I know where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Well, he will feel a bit like it's too much for him. Thomas has always been an enigma, hasn't he? Because his talent has been apparent to, at least for those of us who watch the Black Stars, for a very long time. But even the Black Stars, it's like he's not like Michael Essien, who actively avoided the spotlight. He doesn't avoid the spotlight. He just is.
Yeah.
He's just there. If you speak to him, he will speak. You know, he doesn't actively seek it. Probably like Andre Ayew, you know, like wants to be the face of the team and is not shy about that. But he's not Michael Essien either. So you see it like yesterday when he got to the Black Stars camp. They did a video of him in the camp and it quickly went viral. Like it was like a 10-second video and he was just drinking water.
Wow.
He was just standing and drinking water and it was just that.
I love that. But quickly before you go, let's talk about Presec. You are excited that you're in the final of the NSMQ.
Haven't you noticed that it's been a bit muted? Like the build-up. Unlike last 2 years when there was so much noise, there were hashtags, let's talk about 6 and all that. I think it's been quite muted and I think I'll prefer that.
All right, we wish you all the best as you come against Adi Sadal and Opoku Ware.